Okay.
All right, sorry. We are live right this moment, so hold on, everybody. All right, hey, we gotta use the crab mouth. We're on the Eastern Shore. All right, we're starting the open session of the Mayor and Council for Monday, July 10th, 2023. Please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I think there was a motion by Councilmember Green to put items 1, 2, 3, 4 on the consent. No. Item number 1A is the approval of the consent agenda, which is the regular session minutes from June 26, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Orris, a second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record. Oh, yes, sir.
Can we go back to the font before this 10 pixel or whatever it is?
The font?
Yes.
Okay.
The font size.
Sure.
Can we go back to 12 or 13?
Sure. I haven't changed it, so I'll increase it to 12. It's not 12.
We'll go up on it.
Yeah.
Whatever this number is, try the next one. By 2 if you don't mind. And if it's not... Thank you. So we do have a motion and a second. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that the consent agenda items passed unanimously with all council members present. Agenda item number 2, items for approval. 2A is a special event permit application for Back to School Movie Night at Henry Park, Saturday, September 2nd, 2023 for the Burdell Family Foundation. I believe we have some representation here this evening. Please come forward. Just name and tell us a little bit about the movie night. I know this isn't new to us, but it's also an opportunity for everybody watching at home to hear more about the event.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Fonda Burdell, CEO and founder.
Walter Burdell, Vice President.
Thank you for having us. As you said, this is not a new event to the town. This will actually be the 3rd year, if approved, that we will be holding it in Henry Park. The Burdell Family Foundation supplies school supplies to all of the children in the area, and each year we try to give them a back-to-school kickoff with those school supplies. So we are asking the town to once again allow us to use Henry Park for that use. Everything that we provide is absolutely free to all the children in the community. We had everyone from Head Start to seniors at Stephen Decatur High School come through. Last year, it was a bring your own chair, bring your own blanket type of affair. We included as many town persons as possible to help sponsor the event. The Welcome Center is again this year accepting school supplies on our behalf so that we can help distribute those. The City of Ocean City, Flagship Cinemas help provide popcorn, Pepsi provides sodas. And again, we just try to make it a fun event for the children to encourage them to do well, encourage them to keep reading. Our tagline is reading is fun to mental. And we want to make sure that we encourage them to read and try to give them a good kickstart to the school year. So we just ask for permission to once again use that area for that usage.
Thank you. Before we do that, I do just want to say thank you for the work that all of you do. It's huge for our school system and our entire town, so thank you.
This is a wonderful idea.
I love those words.
Yes, this is,
Do you know any?
this is a great idea. So I'd like to make a motion, we approve the request and waive the fees.
Second.
Thank you.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Nerger, a second by
I have some questions.
Vice President Burrell, and questions by Councilmember Orr.
But that's, well, my question is, it's, there's nothing else going on in the state, right? The second.
Ivy?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Is there any?
Oh, no, when we sat together, we went over the whole calendar, we're good.
All right,
And nothing's going on that evening.
Yeah.
So we haven't decided yet.
Okay.
It's still up. We're
I was just,
only because we're waiting on a response back from the licensing company. We're thinking Black Panther 2. We were suggested Little Mermaid. Suggested Minion Rise of Gru.
Superman,
Super Mario Brothers, Spider-Man. We're trying to do a newer movie
Little
that we
Mermaid
think
behind that?
2023?
Yeah, the new one. I'm trying to do new movies that will get the children engaged. So we think they'll come out and see one of those movies more than they will see Fantasia from.
So I guess we're still waiting on the licensing company. The movies start at $500 and go up. So it really depends on what the cost is and what our sponsors, volunteers, town, that contribute to help us meet those costs, can come up with.
I think you were going to respond to Councilmember Warris, or were you okay?
No, I just wanted to make note that we are also asking, or they are also requesting that the town waive the $50. Oh, okay.
So I do have a motion by Councilmember Nur and a second by Vice President Burrell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that it passes unanimously, and you'll see us all there.
So can I ask you one last question real quick?
Yes.
Older cousin, please. So the question I have for you is, why did you choose September the 2nd? Please tell us why you choose that weekend.
Absolutely. So when the foundation originally started, we started out as the Burdell Scholarship Fund, and we were giving scholarships to a family member who was going to college. They did have to complete an application. It wasn't just given to them. And our family normally has a family reunion every year, Labor Day weekend. So originally we started doing that, and at the family reunion, we were giving away school supplies to anyone in the neighborhood who came, and we were showing a movie underneath of the tent. In 2013, we incorporated and became a nonprofit, and then in 2019, we opened up our scholarship, so now we offer a legacy scholarship. So family members still must apply, but we also have a community scholarship. So we've just grown, and we still keep it on that weekend because most of us are in town, and it's easy to get volunteers when they're here.
Oh, I just thought you might want to share that.
That's really cool.
Yes, our scholarship is open. Again, we have a community scholarship that's available to anyone in the country, continental United States. The application deadline, is October 30th, and the award will be announced to the recipients towards the end of November, and then we have our annual gala in December in which we reward those students and present them. So we invite you all to come to the gala. It's held annually, and we last year gave away 2 $1,000 scholarships and 2 $500 scholarships, and then we also make donations to Buckingham Elementary. Stephen Decatur will be getting something this year, West Salisbury and East Salisbury. So all of the schools that we take care of in this area. And we're working on a partnership with Shao, it just hasn't happened yet. And Snow Hill Elementary.
Well, thank you. We greatly appreciate it. And if there's anything else you'd like to add, if not, we're going to try and work our way through this agenda.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good work. Thank you, yes. All right, I think we can scratch agenda item 2B. Does everybody feel comfortable with that? It was in case
Yeah, we
we
don't have
needed
any
anything. Yeah, we just, it was there just in case. Agenda item 3, public hearing ordinance 2023-05. This is for speed cameras. Our chief of police, Arnold Downing, and town attorney David Gaskell are going to run point on this. It was, the first reading was held on Monday, June 26, 2023. Anything you want to summarize before we open the public hearing?
No.
No?
That was, okay.
It's fairly self-explanatory. What this ordinance attempts to do is to designate school zones here in town at Buckingham Elementary, Berlin Intermediate, Stephen Decatur Middle, Stephen Decatur High School, and Worcester Prep, and locations within a half-mile radius of all those schools are eligible to have speed cameras put in, and that eligibility will be researched with the company that's going to operate this, and those decisions will be determined where they'll be placed. And the chief will have much input on that as well.
And the council.
Thank you.
Well, recommendations to the council.
Correct.
All right, so we'll open the public hearing. Chief, you good?
Good.
So we'll open the public hearing on ordinance 2023-05 regarding speed cameras. Anybody that would like to address the mayor and council regarding the ordinance, please come forward at this time. We'll keep it open for just a moment. Oh, go ahead. Yep, sorry, I didn't see the hand. Just come forward.
I just had a question, a quick question. If you put these cameras up, are you going to reevaluate as far as whether they're effective there, or are they permanently just there?
I think the chief can speak to that better.
Right, they're actually evaluated, and we can add more depending on the vendor and the town itself. We can go ahead and remove, and we can actually change locations.
That's what I'm wondering.
Anyone else that would like to address the mayor and council for the public hearing for ordinance 2023-05? Okay. The public hearing for ordinance 2023-05 is closed, and any discussion or motion by the council?
Just to follow up on Marie's question. The cameras can only be placed in school zones, and that is being defined as the roads within a half-mile radius of the school. Again, the schools listed are Buckingham, Berlin, Intermediate, Stephen Decatur Middle, Stephen Decatur High School, and Worcester Prairie.
So the cameras could be moved within those, like say for example, if it were placed at the corner of West and, what's that little slide, Abishai, what is it called? I don't even remember, West Michigan. If it's put right there and it's proven not to be as effective as it would be on the corner of West and, whatever, Ballpark Link, whatever, then it could be moved there because it's all within that radius.
Just so that we're clear, I think that it's important to note that there's an evaluation period, right, Chief? Where a list of streets will be evaluated to see whether they fit the metrics of the company's variables, whatever they may be. And then once they're installed, they're a little more difficult to move after that, just as an FYI.
When we start, it can be temporary,
Right.
so
Yep,
they'll
exactly.
be mobile
Yep.
before construction. So
Correct.
they wouldn't do hard permanent construction prior to having a good location.
Okay, so we'll take a motion.
Well, my question was, Chief, if you, these are grant funded, correct?
No.
No, it's a revenue share, remember? It's a cost of each. So we had the vendor that came and gave the presentation.
Oh.
That's the one where they talked about each ticket, there's a portion of it that would go back, but the town council would have to enter into an agreement with the vendor.
Right.
Tonight, so do we build the permanent after they do their study?
Right now, we're talking about the ability to, so that's what this one is for. The next phase is actually going to be the contract itself, and the contract spells out how everything is shared. They foot the bill for the infrastructure, the build out, the evaluation period, and then after that comes in the actual enforcement after a 30-day warning period and public display. We have to go ahead and advertise.
I'm just too excited, I guess.
To clarify just a tiny bit more, this ordinance only gives you the right to do this. It
Correct.
does not say you are doing it, not at this point.
So I still have a hard time with what's declared a school. And I hear you when you say K.
Guess what? It doesn't matter because the state makes it.
Yeah,
Listen,
it's
listen
state
though,
law.
but listen to me though, Linda, listen. If
We did take a turn, didn't we?
if it says, if the state makes this ruling and these other facilities, like say these childcare facilities, are also running state mandated pre-K programs, then I don't see why they can't be considered school. Bundles of Joyce has a state mandated pre-K program, and so does Coastal Learning Center. So the state still mandates those, I know, because they're governed and run by the state just like the public schools where I work. So I think we should look into that
The
because
state actually, there says in the definition that they can't be included.
The other nice part though, the square mileage of Berlin's roughly 4 miles or so.
4.2, 4.1.
Yeah, so keep in mind, we've got 5 schools, half-mile radius. Some of them are clustered, I'll give you that. But that's a lot of surface area.
but there's still a lot of surface area that's not covered, and I know some of that.
But let's start somewhere, and then we can always
I don't care if it's Flower Street.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, Mr. Burrell, that's why I'm trying to talk pre-K.
Guess what? It's a half a mile to school.
I'm
All
just
right,
saying.
so can we get a motion by anyone to adopt?
No, I'm good, it's been covered, I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
And so I have a motion by Councilmember Green, a second by Councilmember Nur. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that ordinance 2023-05 passes unanimously. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, David Gaskell. Up next is agenda item number 4, a discussion item, draft ordinance regarding on-site cannabis consumption locations. Town Attorney David Gaskell is going to run point. This is on the agenda at the request of the council following the legalization of cannabis in the state of Maryland.
Well, last month I was tasked by Councilmember Nur and maybe Councilmember Green to look into this, and I did. And this draft ordinance, as I said that night, I felt that there was no point in recreating the wheel. This was borrowed from Ocean City. This is what has already been passed in Ocean City. There is a license, an on-site consumption license, which has been established by the state, which would authorize the holder of a license to operate a facility on the premises of which individuals can smoke outdoors, vape, or consume cannabis. And that law gave municipalities and local governments the opportunity to prohibit the operation of those, or the issuance of those licenses within municipal limits. And that's what this does.
All right, so this is a discussion item, so.
So can I,
There you
so
go.
I asked for this to come up, and again, appreciate the research and the time. So this is where I was on this, and it's illegal to smoke cannabis in public right now. The concept is that a restaurant and bar in the town of Berlin could seek a license to have on-site cannabis consumption at their areas that they designate as public smoking spots. Okay, so there are restaurants, that have areas they designate that are their smoking areas, because you can't smoke cigarettes inside, right? So the concept, and this is what Ocean City did. Now, Ocean City and Berlin are very, very different, honestly. Ocean City did not want joints to be smoked in those designated areas at these high-volume restaurant bars. So that's the concept. So I just thought it was germane for Berlin to look at it. I think a clear argument could be made that it's probably unnecessary. It could be potentially be an overreach on our part, but that is where I was coming from. Listen, my son is 15 years old, he and his buddies, they work at a restaurant. I don't want them, when they are taking out trash through a designated smoking area, to walk through marijuana smoke, quite frankly. I'm not even that old school, really. But that is, now whether our license holders will seek that license is the big question. And they, I think we know most of our operators, I can't don't predict any of them moving forward with this, but I just wanted to give my reasoning for it. I want to hear what my colleagues have to say about it, but I do appreciate the time and effort that was put into it. But that was really what I was looking to address.
And I think it is prudent that, with the passage of new legislation at the state level, it is prudent to evaluate. Now, I think that we have it on as a discussion item tonight, and thank you for bringing that up. Hopefully we can make this up.
Well, I just have a couple of questions. I went on the Cannabis Administration, this is the highlight of the meeting. Sorry, I had to. I went on the Cannabis Administration FAQs, so I'm confused. So the law, smoking cannabis and hemp is prohibited in any public place. This includes outdoor spaces and indoor spaces open to the public, including parks, streets and sidewalks, bars and restaurants, public transportation like buses, vans, trains, taxis, limos, and indoor places of employment. And then it goes on because cannabis is still illegal on the federal level. But then, so this says, so what you're saying is there's a carve out in the law that you can just smoke?
No, this is for outdoor, Jeff. This says outdoor.
But this law addresses. But this says, this includes outdoor spaces and indoor spaces. So I'm wondering, how are we, I'm confused.
It's a law.
I'll be honest with you, I'm confused as well.
Okay,
You can get a special license if you're a certain business to go ahead and have
so you can smoke
cannabis
outside.
smoke on premises,
But not indoors.
Correct. It has to be.
because you can't smoke indoors.
Right.
So it has to be a designated smoking area at a
On
on-premise.
premise.
I don't
But
think
let's
you-
also keep in mind, it does say vape, smoke, or consume.
So then my question.
So that means it could be in other things that are not
Yeah, so.
inhalants.
No, you're consuming edible. That's that consume.
I said in an inhaler.
So my question
I'm talking to
is,
Jay. that-
my questions are, I guess. So what's the real intent of this draft? Is it to have people not do
This
anything?
one right here in front of
Yeah,
me?
Is it,
This
let me
is-
speak this out because I want to get it clear. Is it to not have folks smoke outside because it smells worse than cigarettes in some opinion? Or is it because we want to enforce folks not doing anything indoors?
So my concept would be, imagine walking down Main Street, doing Fiddler's Convention, and marijuana smoke being smelled on Main Street from designated smoking areas at restaurants.
Okay, so you're in, I'm not, just
Yeah,
asking.
yeah.
So your envision is more the smell? Similar to cigarette smoke, that can be annoying, but.
Yeah, I'm worried about the perception that the town of Berlin would take if there's, yeah, probably true, quite frankly. But I think there will, this ordinance before us also, I think, goes too far. I would say that to prohibit the operation and licensing of on-site consumption establishments. So that would be, if a business were to open in Berlin and want to be a weed bar, I'm not even really wasn't looking to address that part. And that's something I think we should all probably be aware of, that could be a reality at some point. I was really more concerned about the on-site consumption license that existing license holders can now get through the law.
And that's
makes
why,
sense?
it does, and I wanted clarification on that. Because let's face it, there would be no, Chief can correct me, but I don't think there'd be any way to effectively enforce anyone eating edibles on site.
I don't hear about
Or gummies.
We're over it.
So, I'm just,
Grandma's already making
I was just
cakes and
asking
stuff.
what.
We got some right here in the bowl.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
We do not.
The Human Resources side of the table.
Okay, this meeting.
So
So
just as a point of discussion, I understand more now, thank you.
Marie, it's a Hallmark
I agree.
movie.
I agree that this might need to be reworded.
Which one?
Use your mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. So, thank you for clarifying all of that, and I do agree with you. I think that this might go a little bit too far, but I understand it a little better now.
Can I suggest that maybe in an effort to gain more time to better understand, one, how the new state legislation rolls out, and two, what requests come in at the state level from the town of Berlin, why don't we put like a pause on it? We'll use your word for Heron Park, put a pause on it, and put in a moratorium or something like that. I think we discussed that at some level to see that some other entities were possibly doing the same thing.
And can we get, Dave Gaskell, I'm sorry, can we get, you said you were unclear as well, can we get a little bit of clarification from the state on this?
I'll see what I can do.
Because right now, somebody could open up with one of these licenses if they're approved at the state level without anything on the books from the town of Berlin.
So that's my question, Dave. If we take no action on this, I'm not saying we should, but if we take no action and someone applies for one of these on-site consumption licenses, smoking outside, then everybody gets ramped up and we pass the ordinance at a later date, can they still operate or?
That's a question I need to find the answer to.
With a moratorium.
Can we rule?
But I struggle with the notion of the town putting a moratorium on the state issuance of a state license.
Yeah.
They can still issue it, they just couldn't operate in Berlin.
Well, that's the point.
That's what
For a period of time. This is indefinite until, can you, can we maybe, Dave Engelhardt, have you received any requests, or Ivy, have you received any requests to open this type of business in Berlin yet? So I don't think there's a harm in waiting 2 weeks. I don't think they're going to move forward. All the stuff I've seen at the state level and the stuff that I shared with this body said that those licensees would not be granted until, I think, January.
Right.
So I think we have a little bit of time to evaluate this. Let's see if we have some colleagues across the state that maybe have enacted like a moratorium. And if so, maybe we can do that framework.
Sure.
Or do our due diligence in a different direction.
Can
That
I
sounds very
suggest that perhaps you email Dave specific questions that you're seeking the answers for?
Right.
That would be helpful.
Because I'm curious about the Worcester License Beverage Association process too. I mean, not the license, the license.
Liquor board.
Yeah, I would assume that they would be the grantor of that license, right? They meet, the board license commissioners meets every, once a month. So, you know, that's an opportunity as well for town to present their views when we see that agenda come out. And I'm excited to see that, so.
So in the interim,
yeah.
what's, my question is, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My question is, in the interim, what do we do? How does Berlin operate? Say someone, you're here in a restaurant tonight, you're having dinner, after dinner you wanna go have a smoke. Tonight, if somebody's in that designated smoking area and they light up,
We don't have any of those currently.
I'm just saying, if there's a spot, no, I'm saying, if someone's smoking a cigarette in a spot, and their friend is outside smoking a cigarette, or their friend is smoking a cigarette, and they pull out a joint and they smoke a joint, today, how do we handle that?
They will be cited.
Say that again?
They'll be cited.
That's what I was curious about. I was just curious as to where we stood.
The analogy I
Right
use
this
is the open container law. You still, even though you may walk out of a bar, you can't walk down the street with beer. And that's a kind of a weak analogy, but I think it might help kind of put it into perspective. Just because it is now legal recreationally, does not mean you can smoke it anywhere you want.
Publicly.
And even in some residents, you can't smoke. If you are over top of the old dollar store, which is Tour World,
Toy
Tour World.
Toy
They have the 6
World,
units.
toys,
Yeah.
whatever.
You can't smoke in your house. It's going to be emanating on one side to another.
Got it.
You can't smoke inside of a vehicle.
And I think for me, that's where I'm going with all this. All I want to see is the clear, what's allowed, what's not, even though quote unquote Maryland is legal.
Why would you want to do this? Because if you were the only place in town that allowed it, and Snow Hill doesn't, Ocean City doesn't, everybody will be here, and it'll be that long line, and they'll be loaded up in whatever business it is. There. So just paint the picture.
Ivy, do you have
Chief
any
is Picasso.
economic?
Right, when you talk about a designated smoking area, so the businesses in Berlin, they don't have a designated smoking area that isn't on town property. So most of the people go outside of the bar and they're on town sidewalks, and that's the quote-unquote designated smoking area.
Very few business has located.
There are some restaurants that
They are.
have private designated smoking
Yes.
spots. There, I mean, I'm not going to name,
I can't look.
but yeah.
I didn't know. How much is the citation?
Oh,
Go ahead.
Chief, we have a question from,
Chief, how much is the citation?
I won't be able to know right off.
Like Ocean City on the board, it's $50.
It's going to be the exact same thing because it's not a town ordinance. Generally, they use a state criminal citation. I could be wrong. They might have something else. But the books are actually coming out right now because everything started July 1. The officers know, and they're actually putting stickers on each citation. So I'll be able to have the information for you.
and there is an entire administration for this, the Maryland Cannabis Administration, I think.
Cannabis.maryland.gov.
So there's a lot of
I'll have an
resources
answer in a
available.
second.
I did get some stuff from the current administration. I shared that, I think, with everybody. So there's a wealth of information to look at. But I think this is something that Gaskell, if we could summarize our questions, send them to David Gaskell, and maybe circle back on this again in a couple weeks.
So, are nicotine vapes allowed indoors?
No,
I don't think so.
no smoking.
I think most places have their policy says smoking or vaping.
Yeah.
Anything electronic?
Yeah.
People sneak it, but they shouldn't.
All right, so up next, agenda item number 5, reports. Start with the town administrator. Anything you want to highlight in the departmentals?
I do not have anything in particular. I had indicated in my report that I would have a motion tonight regarding town-hired contractors and the contract with business license, but I do not have that this evening, but I will.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the council for the town administrator's report or the departmentals that are provided in the packet?
Yeah, just to follow up real quick, please. The Tracks and Yaks endeavor. My main concern really is, and I don't delve into the businesses because that's not my purview, but this is one that's not exactly a storefront, and it is like within the community, and I think it's a cool idea. But I guess my basic question is, if anything should happen, the town is not responsible for anything, correct?
Correct. As with any other business.
All right. Okay, that's really all I was getting at.
But just to clarify, anything that happens on the tracks in the railroad's right of way,
Right, so if they, yes.
if they fall on the sidewalk,
Well, that's all.
I just want to clarify.
I just want to do, yeah.
Of course,
yes.
yes.
They go off the rails.
Yeah.
Yes.
They
If
get
something
out of that
happens
easement.
in operation of the amusement, which I think it is. And then, Ivy, I'm sorry, can you please just talk a little bit about the new line item for the grant expenditure that you have here? This will make it easy for us to see what's been funded by a grant. Is it just a bottom line?
So Natalie is obviously out, and sorry for her loss. She and I and Mary talked about adding a grant line item similar to the DHCD facade grant under economic development, where you can see what money is being spent on grant-funded items. In the latest budget, I don't think it's been uploaded yet, there's going to be a line item that says Main Street, arts and entertainment, etc., grant funding. So whenever I pay a band, it'll come out of that line item so you can see exactly what is grant funded and what isn't. It'll just make it easier for you, specifically you, Jack, so you will know whatever is paid with grant funding.
Thank you.
And all the grant that my department receives will go under there. Worcester County Arts Council grant funding. It's not going to be deposited in there, it's deposited into the Main Street Tourism receivable account, but it's an expenditure account line item.
Currently, something like that would show up under contracted services.
Like
So
the
it
billboard.
It gets combined, right, it gets combined in with everything
Right,
else.
and a lot of the grant funding that we receive, I work with Jimmy with the Horticultural Advisory Committee. So one of the grants that we received for the Main Street Improvement Grant included beautification efforts, but that's Jimmy's department. So Jimmy would have to spend out of his line item for downtown landscaping, and then it would, take all of his money out of there, and then he's waiting for reimbursement, but the reimbursement goes into a receivables that he doesn't get to see. So
It just creates a cleaner trail.
yeah, and it's so everyone can see what is grant funded, and it just makes it easier and more transparent for everyone, I think.
I love it, and thank you.
Yeah.
And we've actually suggested that because that's what we used to do for all of our grants. We have 5 grants, and that's what's happening right now. We'll end up having 35,000 hit something, and the revenue not come back. And when you look at the budget, it's going to be all off kilter.
Any additional departmental questions from the council?
I just have a question on the fireworks. You raised $6,500 in sponsorships.
Yes.
So it cost the town, was it $7,500 to put on? How much were the fireworks for?
It was a little more than 11,000.
11,000. Okay, so that include the fire company.
So the fire company, that was just additional $500, but from the
That was the cost to have them.
that was the cost to have them on standby. The actual fireworks for their staff and their presentation is a little more than 11. I don't have the exact figure.
That's okay.
It's a little more than 11,000. So each year we have to put a deposit down to make sure that we save the date for next year. So that I think it's a $5,000 deposit, and then so it comes out to $11,000 being spent each year for the fireworks.
Sure. That's great. I I knew that we didn't hit the number, but I still think that's obviously well worth it.
Right, and the goal when Mayor Tyndall, when we first talked about that, was to at least get half.
Yes.
So we're a little more than half, so and thank you to our sponsors very much, especially Sunrise Church, Maryland Broadband, OCVacations.com, Bradley Insurance, and I think I got them all.
Yeah, they did. That's,
Yeah.
I think it's great just to be able to mitigate the cost.
And that actually came up in you know how we have our yearly budget meetings when we're crafting the budget. I think you were in the room too, when we started talking about ways that we could offset some of the costs. And I think you even referenced like Ocean City's contributions we talked about. It's not a new invention. We did it a few years ago and then we stopped and then we just restarted that program. So, good idea. So.
Ocean City Tourism also helps fund our stages for downtown for our events.
Kelsey, I just also wanted to clarify or confirm that now all of our sworn officers are in Leon.
Yes.
Everyone's.
Yeah.
Question for Dave. You talked about four notices of violations. What were the violations?
Two for automobiles that were untagged and off the street, and 2 for grass.
Thanks.
I do want to add a point.
Take care of mine tomorrow, Dave. Just
A point of clarification, the state retirement system said they have everything, they haven't fully processed it on their end, but they are in our side.
We have done what we need to.
For clarity, because I have had police officers that have contacted them and said that they've said they don't have their paperwork yet, but I spoke with them, they said they have it, they just are behind, like most agencies, and they are, trying to process it, so they're in, just not fully yet.
Any other departmental questions? All right, let's move on to comments from the public. Anyone that would like to address the mayor and council, please come forward. Yep, just name and street name, please. And then the item that you would like to discuss.
So, Jane Johnson, Spear Lane. I just kind of wanted to comment on ordinance, the draft ordinance that we discussed today. I just thought it was interesting how we're discussing banning outdoor cannabis use when we have all these other things that are going on that, in my opinion, kind of negate that. We allow excessive amounts of drinking in town. We have 7 to 8 bars in our town limits, which are 4.5 miles. And we allow people to get drunk all the time. We have events that we permit alcohol in and we permit it. And with marijuana, it's suddenly like the line that we're pushing. I mean, with your kid being in service, I was also in service at his age. I was much more concerned with cigarette use than with marijuana use. With marijuana use, you have to have a lot of the smoke inhaled to get even like a slight high. And in an outdoor area, you're not going to get that. With cigarette use, you can get like second-degree lung cancer or second-hand lung cancer because you're inhaling dangerous smokes that your coworkers are smoking right outside, even though they're outside, you know? Like, I understand we can't ban cigarette use at this point because it's, obviously that's a little too much. But why would we ban outdoor marijuana use then? If it's in this very specific area, I'm sure you guys can come up with a smart area that, is well-designed, well-planned, whatever, so it's not interrupting anyone's day or making anyone feel uncomfortable, and then designate that zone as a public smoking zone. I'm sure that would not be terribly hard and terribly difficult. I mean, the economic benefits that this could bring to the town is insane. If we are the only location in, this side of the Eastern Shore that that allows vendors to sell marijuana legally, that whoever owns that store is going to be making a ton of money, and they're going to be paying a lot of taxes back to the town, which we could then use for road development, which we could then use for broadband, which we could then use for 5G, whatever the hell we need to. It's economically sound and smart, and I feel like we're almost like shooting ourselves in the foot by negating these things. I think this was pointed out when you guys were discussing this, but this law has been legal for about 10 days now, and we haven't really gotten any applications yet. And I'm not saying that it won't happen in the future, but this is the time that this law is being put into the spotlight, and it's the time that people are starting to think, okay, let me open up a place, let me get a license, let me see what I can do. And if we're not getting any applications now, I can't really foresee us getting any applications in January when no one's really here. I just don't think that's terribly feasible. I think that is all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the mayor and council? Okay, let's move on to comments from the council. Check that, check your watch. We started late and we're on time. It is a Hallmark movie, featured by Marie.
Not predict.
All right, let's start with Vice President Burrell.
The only comment I have this evening is for his staff that assisted with fireworks. Again, this year, the fireworks were fantastic. And I do appreciate the work that goes into that 25-minute presentation. They were wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Councilmember Mayor?
No comments.
Thank you. Councilmember Nichols?
Yeah, great discussion this evening on all parts. A little lost in some areas, but I mean, lots to think about. I will say, have a good weekend. What day is this?
It's Monday.
Councilmember Orts?
Just real quick, I want to thank the staff as well for the fireworks. They were great. And I also wanted to thank Chief. He invited the council and the mayor and myself and Councilmember Nichols went to the Top Cop breakfast on the 27th through MML. It was a great event, so I wanted to thank you for the invite, and I appreciate you letting us know. And on top of that, I also went to MML, and I completed all my courses to graduate from the government, or the academy that they have there, so that's great. And thank you.
It was posted on the graduation.
Yes, I'll let you know when it is. But, so I think that's all that I have. I just wanted to say thank you and great.
And again, thank you both for showing up and showing the support. It means a lot.
Absolutely.
So I'll be brief. The biggest heartburn that I'm having over the park sale is the demolition. It's hard for me to really come to a conclusion on how I feel about it with that out there. So can I just an update on exactly, we can't put the RFP out yet because we don't know the direction that we're going.
So the questions for the demo, yeah, so with the Coastal Ventures Properties plan, it's a strategic demolition of a portion of the building. Right. The other option is the entire, what can we get for $500,000?
Right.
And what can we get is key, it will not take the whole thing down for what we have.
So you have, okay, that's what so much out here. So that, you believe that's
It will
a fact.
cost more than $500,000.
I cannot swear to any numbers, but I do very strongly believe that 500,000 will not take that whole building down.
That's to take the building down. If you want to get the building to a point where you can construct something else on there, it's probably going to be even more than that.
And does it include the old Rains building?
No, I think you're going to hit your $500,000, if not more, just with the processing.
Yeah.
Now, if I remember correctly, when we were talking about this years ago, some costs were different with just taking down, but also removal. So are we, when we're talking taking down, is this including removal? Because some of those guys at one point were saying, we'll tear it down, but we're going to charge you more to remove it.
Well, when it was at various points in this, the discussion has been, we will take it down and we can offset the price by the value, and I'm speaking as a contractor, by the value we get from the materials. I don't know if that's still the case. That's very market dependent. And until we put it out to bid, we honestly don't know.
And a portion of the $500,000 will be used to develop that bid. So it will not even be a full $500,000.
It will not, correct. Make no mistake, it will not be 500,000 that we will have available for demolition. I would put it more in the range of,
450 is probably reasonable.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
So that's right, because I'm such a hard time.
And the only way to get a quote is to put out an RFP.
Can we do like an RFI?
The engineers will develop a cost estimate, but until they put it out for bid, and whatever's
That will
happening
cost
in the
money,
market
too.
at the moment they bid it, That cost estimate is just that, an estimate.
But
And
we
the
couldn't
cost
go to a
would be-
local source and,
They couldn't bid on that,
will they'd be excluded from bidding?
wouldn't they? But
I'm
if we went to a
sorry.
local
Yeah, that would be a
vendor,
Just to get their
conflict of
opinion.
interest, yeah.
Oh, yes. If we were to ask someone local to, like a construction company or a demolition company, yes, they would then be prohibited from this.
Since the building, since the building is a lot of concrete, one of the things, if you write in there, make sure that we can get an air quality permit so that it can be crushed on site, which will probably save a lot more too. So if you can let them bring the crusher in on site and crush the components there, just keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I think that's what the school system was thinking about with Buckingham.
Because I mean, it
It's
saves
more
a lot of money,
economical
but
to
like the
trans-
Buckingham would have to go through the town, because it's our town, it's our permits. We would have to, since that's our property, we would have to go get the permits for that.
Right.
But just keep that in mind, that if you let them crush it on site, it'll offset some of the cost, because trucking is expensive. Once they have a suitable material that they can sell, you can maybe offset the cost that way. I mean,
Obviously, it's more expensive to transport slabs of concrete than crush. And the engineers will develop all those different ways of tweaking the final contract to get the most bang for the buck.
the other portion of that is, the importance is that we identify in the contract with CBP, the draft contract, of having those funds expended by May 31st,
Yes.
2024. We need to expend those funds by June.
Yeah.
The challenge is that the due diligence that Coastal Ventures Properties wants to do will take probably 4 to 6 months. So when you take that into consideration and our timeline for demo, we don't have a lot of time to wait. At 30 days before that close out,
I'll assume it's.
I want to say the end of the fiscal year, but
So truthfully, we're looking at it this, I mean.
we need a decision by the end of August.
Okay, that's what I was
If not, we are in a really bad, we're in a bad spot now.
Well, I think.
We need something
The
by.
engineers have done a lot of work, but they've only gone as far as they can go at this point. But
Okay.
they have indicated that if I were to call them tomorrow and say, go, it would take them about 4 weeks to get it ready to go to bid.
That's what I was kind of seeking some information.
End of August, we need a decision.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. I mean, I think that's something that would be reasonable for this group, I would suspect. I don't know how much more we need to, on our level.
Yeah.
I feel like and I will say kudos to my colleagues that worked hard on spreading the education. I think that has helped a lot. I do hope that has helped the community a lot. There's been a lot of different sources, Councilman Nerve, there's something together, Councilman Orr, put something together, the mayor. So that is, I think, helped a lot. You know, we have a divided community, there's no question about it, I think we know that. But education has come really far in the last few weeks,
But
so.
I do think we're unified on the fact that people want to see something done there.
Right,
Yeah.
It's just, what is that something?
yeah. And I think that's me, I can't get past what's happened to demo. So I guess that's the,
Yeah,
for me, it's
that's-
really, it's the elephant in the room in this in a way. You don't want to nitpick the project, but
Why
it's
are you
the-
letting that hang you up?
Because what if we can't demolish this? What if
What if we
it's
only
passed?
take down $500,000 worth?
So then we're left
And what
with
does
a
that look
shell,
like? It's a question.
So then we're left with
the war
some
zone.
concrete on the ground.
Yeah.
Would you say?
You're
so?
further
danger-
along-
a danger
you're
area.
further
I'm just
along
worried
than you
about
are
it.
today.
I'm just worried about a partial structure there.
Strategically, what would $500,000 the demolition look
And
like?
what
But
the
then
sub-
if you go for a future sale, you could leave that for the
Right,
future development.
yeah.
What the subcommittee has discussed, and one thing that I've tried to at least stress, I think that if we leave something there, it's not going to be better for us. I think that if we're going to go the route of demoing the building ourselves, we need to take it to a point where we can use that parcel of property for something else. Whether it's parking, whether it's events, whatever the case may be. If we choose that route, we should go all in. If we choose the other route, then we should continue to fine tune those points that are still lingering and mold the jello, as Palmer says, to what fits the town of Berlin.
All right, no, it's great to get that information. So end of August, it's go time, yes or no? Three of you would
We
say.
need something by then.
I just have one quick question for Tim, not related to Aaron Park, but why are the tree lights not on in town?
Which tree lights?
Many of the trees are not lit at night.
Okay, well, I mean, nobody has notified me of that, so I wouldn't know unless I was down there.
They're,
Probably most of them are.
I'll check.
or
with
partial
Mike.
strands are lit, and it was actually on my list to follow up with you about, but there are partial strands that are unlit, and some of them that are not on. And then also, if we can tighten them up a little bit, they're starting to sag.
All right, I'll go through after tonight's meeting and look at which ones are out and tag all the trees and have the guys look at it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is that it?
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Comments from the mayor. I do want to say, Chief, I did not make the Top Cop breakfast, but I did have a conversation with the governor about the kind words that were said about you and your service to the police chiefs organization. So I want to recognize that and say it goes a long way to hear the governor talking very favorably about our chief of police. So you do a fabulous job here, but it's nice to hear it across the state as well.
I appreciate that, thank you.
With that, we did have a significant amount of rainfall last night, and our streets held up pretty well. It wasn't multiple inches like what we've had in the past, but it was an inch over a short period of time. Our roads did hold up pretty well. Thank you to all of our staff that worked for the Independence Day fireworks show. It was a great success. I know we were on pins and needles about whether the weather was going to hold out for us or not. So thank you for that, and thanks for keeping us up to speed.
Mayor,
Yep.
Maple Avenue will be paved tomorrow also from Flower Street
All right.
to,
What we like to hear.
they're supposed to do it
Can
today
you get
with
some
the
pictures,
rain.
please?
If I can remember that.
Sarah, if not, can you go out and take a couple?
I've got a question for Jay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm coming down Franklin Avenue, I've crossed West Street. The second place I can turn right, what is that street? Where the feed mill is.
Nelson?
What is it?
Nelson Street?
Nelson. Do you know Nelson Street runs like this and there's not a drain?
Nelson is one of the.
It's in the bid right now. We will, hopefully the next meeting, July 24th, with everything planning, we'll have a recommendation in front of you to complete phase 2 of that project.
And the drain is way up here.
That's Pine, Nelson, and Franklin. So that should be in front of you next, the July 24th meeting.
And full disclosure, there was standing water in Nelson, but it was passable.
Yeah.
That used to be the link.
Oh, Nelson is doing much better than.
And that report came from the police department, so thank you, Chief. All right, so any comments from the press? All right, we'll take a motion
Oh,
to adjourn.
can I make the press's comment real quick?
No, you
Because I
got a
forgot
council
this.
comment.
Well, I had to tell you this part, because I told them I would tell you. All of those, when we were at MML, so many of the council, our counterparts from other towns and municipalities have stated, oh my God, Shanika, I visited your little town on my way to Ocean City. So lots of municipalities, I'm not saying that it was us that talked them up, more so you all, and the things that you do around the wherever you do them, out on the streets and on television or wherever else. Lots of municipalities, even the little towns you've never heard of, Cottage City, Maryland. They came and frequented Berlin last week. So kudos, ladies and gentlemen, for everything you do in Berlin. Maryland knows you're here.
Yep.
And that was our staff working the, what's that?
We've had other municipalities during MML stop and ask for tours, and we've given them tours of the building and stuff, but we didn't this year, but we have definitely in the past, so.
And we did have a lot of staff working the booth at MML, so that goes a long way too, so thank you. Economic Development, Mayor's Office was there, and the administration was there also, so.
And congratulations to Island. Yes.
Yeah, number one.
Island Creamery for the best ice cream in the nation.
And the official ice cream of Berlin, you want to tell them, Jay?
I agree.
All in favor, say aye.
Half a cup of it in my freezer.
We had to debate about which one was which.